Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to a quick video I'm making. This is going to be a part of a series actually for what is WordPress for a beginner, how to set up a WordPress site in 2020, all the way from developing it on your local machine, all the way to taking it out to a physical server and getting it live for the world to see. This whole series is going to be created in 10-minute segments or less, hopefully. That's the name of the channel and that's why I made it. This first video may be a little longer because it's an introduction to not only this video series, it's going to be on a playlist eventually, but to this entire channel. And so this one might be slightly longer than the rest, but my goal is to get these things into 10 minutes or less, highly targeted topics, so that somebody who doesn't know anything about WordPress can just learn one at a time at their own pace. And even for the people who have the worst focus in the planet and have a hard time paying attention to anything, 10 minutes is pretty simple to pay attention to. And so if I can break the information down as fast as possible and as clearly as possible, I think a lot of people will benefit from that, especially people who want to get their feet wet with WordPress. And so I want to quickly start this series for WordPress for beginners in 2020 by starting right here, which is what the heck is WordPress? If you're asking that question, you came to the right place. WordPress, essentially, let me try to make this as simple as possible. WordPress is, for all intents and purposes, just a content management system that lets you build websites using PHP, which is hypertext preprocessing language, as its underlying code base or coding language. And all it does is serve dynamic content or dynamic website content to a user who visits your site. And WordPress is just an administrative panel and set of tools that makes this process much easier than building it manually. And there's a few different content management systems out there. WordPress is certainly not the only one. They come and they go. But the interesting thing about WordPress is that it has stayed. WordPress was actually created in 2003, and if you're looking at this video right now, it's obviously 2020, so that means it's been around for a very long time, especially in the world of tech, where like things outdate in 6 months. Something's already outdated and gone. So a couple quick stats about WordPress for people who are wondering if you exist is 35%. This is what most statistics say of all websites. I'm gonna put a little plus here because it could be more, are currently built on WordPress. That's 35% of all existing websites. All of them are built, 35% of them are built on WordPress as their core, which is pretty amazing. That actually breaks down to 1.3 billion, yes, with a B, billion websites are currently ran on WordPress's architecture base. And that's pretty amazing. I mean, that is a lot of websites currently built on WordPress. So let's start by talking about a couple reasons why WordPress would be great for you if you're somebody who's a new builder, or even if you're not a new builder and you're just trying to figure out maybe a new software you want to use, or if you're somebody who's never worked with websites before and you're thinking in 2020 this is the year for you to begin working on websites. WordPress is going to be an excellent starting point for you, because the first thing about WordPress is it's open source, and the second important thing about WordPress is it's very easy to install. You just download it from WordPress.org. They have a .com version and a .org version. The .com version is hosted by WordPress, and so it's going to end up being what we call a subdomain. So if you visit a site and you type in, say your first name is, or say it's like Bob's Burger Shack, right? So if you create it on WordPress.com, you're going to create bobsburgershack.wordpress.com, and your site is hosted by WordPress, and you don't have as much customization options as you do when you download the software. So when you download WordPress's package, you go to wordpress.org and you actually download their package, you put it onto your own server, and then you unpackage it and you install it. But in our case, we're going to be doing it on our local computer, building it there, and then moving it out to a real server. So we'll create what we call a design environment. So this is your local computer, and we're going to build a site on what's called your local host. And after the site is finished, we will package the site and move it onto a real-time server where people can actually visit your site, type in the .com or whatever extension you want to do, and your site will be available for the world to see. There's a lot of advantages to doing it this way. This is my personal way I like to do this, and this is the way I'm going to teach it in this 10-minute series about developing it on your local computer and then moving it out to an actual server. I think that there's we'll go over that as we get to each section, but from my experience and from working with WordPress for quite a long time, this tends to be how I like to do it. And like I say, I'll elaborate more on that as we move closer to building, which will be in the next videos. So like I talked about above, WordPress is simply a content management system built on PHP as its core programming language. And a content management system is simply there to manage all of your content in a much more streamlined fashion than building every page in your website by hand. This is kind of like an old school way that websites were built, and people still do it. There's still a lot of people building it like that way, but a content management system essentially makes uploading images, building headers, menus, dynamic content, all kinds of things much more streamlined for somebody who just wants to get into building sites. So with WordPress, one of the main things that people love it for is its themes and plugins capability. So generally when you build a website, say that you're doing it the old-fashioned way where you're just using standalone HTML, right, which would be a .html file. You'd build it, you're still going to use HTML in WordPress, it's still built on HTML, all websites are, as well as PHP, and then you'd have some text, right, like blah blah, this is about my burger shack or whatever, and the page is static. Meaning that if you want to change something in here, you have to go in and change it, and it only affects this page, and you have to know how to call in all your stuff, and there's no way you can just, it's not as streamlined. Well, the thing about WordPress is you can take it out of the box, install it on your server, and then you have access to WordPress's repository of themes and plugins. I think this is why people love it so much, is that you have themes and plugins. And so with themes, you're able to literally go into a section, add a theme, click a button, and the entire website changes. The whole thing. And then plugins are a way of making it so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Meaning somebody else out there already came up with a really great SEO strategy for websites, for search engine optimizing your websites, or somebody already came up with a great option for creating a user login for your website, right? And so all these plugins are part of WordPress's repository, and you have paid and free versions, you have paid plugins and you have free plugins, and each of them do different things. But the cool part is you can add them from the administrative dashboard, and they're immediately accessible inside your site. You change the settings inside the plugins and they change your site's front end. And same thing with themes. You have paid and free. Some are really great, some are not so great, and when you activate them, your whole site changes. These days, WordPress even has extreme amounts of drag and drop themes, which allow you just to drag and drop items around, which is really cool. And so that's why most people are really into WordPress, and why I think it's still an excellent option for somebody who's interested in building websites, because of the fact that these things are available to you, and you don't have to really know hardcore coding in PHP or JavaScript or any of those things to really get your feet wet in it. And so that's why it makes a great starting point for somebody who's trying to get into website building in 2020 and is having a hard time figuring out where to start, because there are a lot of options out there, and it's really easy to get confused, or people to say, well, you want to do this, or you want to do this, or you want to do this. And a lot of times it's easier just to pick one thing and stick with it and then branch out from there. And a lot of times it's easier to challenge yourself on a platform where you can make mistakes, and there's lots of people who've already done wheel inventing in front of you, who've already chiseled out the wheel, and so you don't necessarily have to do that from scratch. So that's a great part about it. Another thing about it is it's going to help you get your feet wet into developing in PHP, because you are going to have to edit it at some point. So PHP is essentially is managed by your server, meaning that this is all done before the user gets the page loaded to them. This is really an easy breakdown of PHP. There's tons of tutorials out there for PHP, so I'm just going to stick with how it relates to WordPress. I'm not going to go in depth on PHP, but essentially PHP is, it takes all the elements of your website, your plugins, your themes, all the stuff that's in databases, and it just processes it all at the server level. And at the server means that it's before the user even sees the page. So when their page is loading, this is churning out and going through and getting all your settings and everything, and then turning it into an HTML page, right? So this is what the user sees in the end. They don't actually see your PHP code, they just see your finalized HTML code, which is your website. And that's what WordPress does. It just runs on PHP, lets you set all your settings, it gathers all those settings, converts it into an HTML page, presents it to the user. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. And so the best part about WordPress is you can get it right out of the box, install it on your local computer, which there are plenty of programs. We're going to end up using a program called XAMPP that allows you to put it on your local machine. So it's only available to you, meaning nobody can see your website but you. We can build an entire website, fully featured and functional, and then clone it to an online into an online public spot where we set up a name and we set up a server, and the site's now public for everybody to see. The best part about WordPress is you don't have to start from scratch when you're building a new site, and it has extreme amounts of expandability. The other greatest thing about WordPress is its ability to expand. If you want to create a site that's about e-commerce, no problem. There are plenty of things to do that, and we'll create a series. I'm going to create actually a series about that as well. But then also, you want to build a website that's user-based and has users log into your site. You have people that come into your site and talk to each other. That's no problem. We can build that too. You want a site that you want to build sites for local businesses. Say that you are a realtor and you want a site for your realtor company. That's no problem too. WordPress has you covered. It can really do anything you want to throw at it. It's just a website building software is all it is. And so it can do all these things extremely efficiently, and you can get a site up literally overnight on WordPress. I mean, it takes almost nothing. Once you get used to WordPress and you have your themes that you like and your plugins that you like and the way that you set up your sites, and we're actually going to create what's called a this is my own thing. We're going to create a installation package which lets you predetermine the way you set up most of your sites, and then you can just clone that each time and start with it as basically your own template base that has all your plugins you like and even the themes you like, really. But that's going to come in the next series. This is going to be a total series, like I said in the beginning, about what is WordPress and how a beginner can get started on it in 2020. This video is slightly longer than the 10 minutes, but the rest of them are going to be really short. Setting up a local host, installing WordPress, setting up your starter plugins, what kind of plugins should you use, setting up a starter theme, getting a site edited, getting some content put into it, and then getting it actually uploaded. I'm actually going to buy a server, put it on that server, show you how to buy a domain name, link that domain name to your server, and get everything put together in such a way that you could actually follow this series, and by the end you could actually have a real website launch that you built on a public server that people can see. That's my intention, and so I'm hoping to pack that into the next series. So hopefully the next video is up already. If it's not, it will be shortly. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button. It'll help me a lot. And also leave me comments and feedback. If this is something that you like, if you like that I sketch and that kind of stuff. I don't know about this sketch idea. I just kind of thought it was a good way to present this information. If you think that it's a good way to show information, I'll keep doing it. If not, I'll actually go through the effort of creating the slides and all that. But in the next videos, we're going to be mainly focused on actual computer recording anyway as we create the real site and everything. In the next video, we're going to be actually setting up XAMPP and getting WordPress put on the local site for us to look at. So we're going to actually be setting that up in the next video. So I look forward to seeing you there, and see you next time.